Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's session. Today, we will be covering the orchestrator authentication, various ways of integrating with different authentication providers to achieve the SSO and, the SAML-based authentications. Let me just quickly share my screen and we'll quickly walk you through uh, the the details about this. Let me know. I think,
Yep. It's
yeah,
visible.
it's visible. So, hi all, I'm Priyesh Tiwari. I'm working as a technical account manager for UiPath. With me, I have Rahul Kumar, who is also working as a technical account manager, and we both will be covering today's session on orchestrator authentication. We do have a Slido link available over here. So in case if you have any questions, feel free to post those questions. Rahul will be sharing the link over the chat with you. We can cover those questions at the end of the session. The agenda for today's session is we will be covering the AD integration, which is for on-prem orchestrator. Like most of the organizations have their own Active Directory sitting on their premises, and they want to integrate our orchestrator with that to allow the single sign-on authentication for different users. It does allow group editions as well, which we'll cover in details. Apart from that, we'll be covering one of the SAML integrations over here, which is PingOne. We will be doing it for both on-prem and cloud. After that, we'll be covering the Azure AD integration. Again, we will be covering that thing in for on-prem as well as for UiPath Cloud. And as I said, we will be covering the questions which are being posted on the Slido. Uh, the basic thing whenever organization set up the orchestrator, right? They want to enable the authentication mechanism as per their need and as per their security policies, right? So the first example of that, which we'll be covering in this session, is the Active Directory integration with the on-prem orchestrator, like the basic and the most commonly used uh, way of authenticating. A couple of prerequisites that I would like to cover for that. The LDAP port, which is 389 by default, should be accessible between the domain controllers so that the communication will happen when we are hitting the Active Directory through Orchestrator. And then the Orchestrator server should be in the same domain as we have Active Directory, so that there should not be any kind of a domain difference between both of them. In terms of the steps, there are a few basic steps that we need to do for this integration. One is like configuring the Windows authentication in the IIS for the orchestrator side. Then we will be doing some very small or basic configurations in the orchestrator level, and then we will be resetting the IIS to make it enable. Uh, Let me just quickly share my screen again for the system that I have where we can achieve this. So here I have, say example, I have already installed my orchestrator. This is my host login. I provided my credentials and I'm just logging into it. Yeah, once I've logged into it, I need to go into the identity management over here. So I'll be clicking the identity management, which will take me to the security settings section where we have this option to enable the Active Directory. I'll go to the security section, and then here you will find multiple options over here. First one will focus on this Active Directory. I can simply click on configure here. And as you can see at the orchestrator level, we have very basic configurations available. Like we have to just make it as enabled over here. If you are using LDAP over SSL, then you can always use the LDAP over SSL option where you have to provide the user credentials as well. However, for this session, we'll be covering the basic authentication with AD. So I will just marking it as enabled. At the moment, I'm just not saving it. We'll go back to the IIS first to make the required changes on the IIS side for the site, and then we can take it from there. So as you can see, I'm on IIS. I'll go into my orchestrator, which is being already installed through the MSI or through the command line, the way you are planning to install it. The first step over here is like we have to go into the authentication section. And here, as you can see, we have a Windows authentication. So we have to mark this as enabled. That should be the first thing. Apart from that, you have to ensure if you double click on this, or if you go to the advanced settings of this, you have to ensure like this enable kernel mode authentication is also checked. So these are a couple of settings that you need to do in the authentication section. Apart from that, if you go back to the orchestrator side, you have to make a few changes in the configurator editor. So you have to go into the configure editor and you have to go to system.web server security authentication and Windows authentication. As you can see there at the top, you have to go into the section. You can always traverse through the tree also over here like this. And here you have to use the value that we have, the attribute like use Apple credentials, you have to mark it as true. Once you have done these changes at the orchestrator level in the IIS. The only thing here which is pending over here. Okay, let me just say it as apply. Once you have done these changes, you can simply go into the Orchestrator login where we have this Active Directory settings, and you have to just say test and save. It will save the settings for you. Both the settings are done at the Orchestrator level as well as at the IIS level, and after that you have to just reset the IIS. Just resetting the IIS, and the IIS being reset now. So if I go back to, I'll just log out from here and I'll go into my default organization now. I'll just change it to my default. I'm logging in an admin. At the moment, I have not added anything, so I will just simply log in with this. Here, one thing you can notice, I can see a new icon over here. Earlier, it was not there. So I've given the name as ADSSO, and it's coming up over here. Okay, just give me a refresh. I'm not sure what has been stuck. Yeah. And I can simply go into my management section over here. I can go to, okay, it's logged out because of cache. Let me just log in again. Go to management section over here. I can go to my groups. I can simply search for a group that I want to add over here. So say example, I'll say UiPath is my group, and I can simply search. So I have a group called UiPath admin over there. So you can see UiPath admin is coming over here with a domain that I have as Priyesh for my Active Directory. So I can simply add over here all the users which will have which are available into that admin group will have an access if once we add them into our Orchestrator manage access section as well. So at the moment, I'm just adding into the identity. So I have this UiPath added over here. Now I can go back to my Orchestrator. Then I'll go to my tenant, my manage access section. Then I'll simply go here and say I want to add a group. I can search for my group, which I have added over there. So you can see I have this group. And I can simply say, I can assign the role as well. So these are the administrator groups. So I'll just mark it as administrator over here. And say assign. So, in both the sections, so once you have done the AD integration in the identity section, as well as here directly also, you can get the user. So for example, if I want to add an Active Directory user directly into my Orchestrator without getting added into, say, without getting added into this, right? I can directly add any user over here as well. So yeah, I'll just give a cancel over here. So my group is available now over here. I'll go to my folders and I'll add this group into my folder access as well. I'll simply come over here. I can select the group. I can select the role. Give the folder administrator over here. And say assign. Once these things are done, you can simply come out of this. And just for, just to ensure like we are not using any cached into the system, I'll open a new incognito browser to show you the AD login. So here I'm going to click the ADSSO. I'm going to put, as I'm available into that group, I'm just giving my details over here. And it will take me into the Orchestrator with the access that I have given into that group. So I can see the shared folder. I have complete access onto the Orchestrator as well. I can very well have access onto the different areas as I'm a part of UiPath admin over here. So that is all about the Active Directory integration. The second part that we'll be covering today is the PingOne integration. So PingOne is like, a SAML based integration that we say. So PingOne, Okta, these are different service providers from the SAML perspective, which allows us to integrate and do an SSO. A couple of prerequisites for PingOne: the orchestrator server should have an access to the PingOne server so that the communication should happen smoothly. The second one is like the user account should be available in PingOne server with the same email address that we are trying to add into Orchestrator. In terms of the steps, there are a few steps involved over here. First is like, we have to create a new application into the PingOne. So it's more about, registering our orchestrator application with certain details into the PingOne system. Then we have to configure the same thing in the orchestrator as well for the PingOne details, and then we have to reset the IIS. The steps are almost same when we talk about cloud as well. So if I have to go onto cloud, I'll just cover that, and then we will see both of them in action. So just in terms of the prerequisites, a little more different prerequisites. So in cloud, we need to have an enterprise or enterprise trial license. Then only we can do the SAML-based integration. Apart from that, the administration permission is needed on both automation cloud as well as the third-party identity provider. Now here, if you have a admin as a separate person who's managing the third-party identity provider like PingOne in this case, you need to request for creation of the application and then configure the application by providing the details. And the last one is again the same. The user account should be available in PingOne server with the same email address. The steps are almost similar. We'll just cover them during the demo. So I'll switch back to the server now. So I'll just close the older ones. I'll just again go into my host login. I'll go to management. And go to security settings, and then here you can see an option for SAML 2. You can simply click on configure, and there are a few details that we need to provide over here. So I'll just go through that as well. So I'll open PingOne as well, so that we can go through both the things together. So in PingOne, if your organization already have an account, they will have a enterprise license for this. If you want to give it a try by yourself, you can always create a trial account as well, and you can try out things like that. So I'll just log into that. Okay. So here I've created an environment like communication, orchestrator, authentication. I'll be using the same environment for this session. You can always create your new environment as well in PingOne. Once you enter into the environment, you have to go into connections. And here you'll get an option to add a new application. So first we will be performing the PingOne integration with the on-prem. So for that, I'll be creating a new application. I'll just say the application name is PingOne on-prem. I'll give the same into the description as well. I'll be choosing the option for SAML application. And then I have to click on configure. Once we come onto configuration, there are three options which are available. We can choose any of these three options which is being supported by your organization. For this session, I'm using the enter manually option. There are a few details that you need to pass on over here as per the docs. So I'll be quickly showing you what you need to pass. So in terms of the ASIX URL that you need to pass, you have to pass the orchestrator URL followed with or suffixed with identity /SAML2 /ASIX, like ACS over here. So you can simply take this URL. You can very well customize it as per your orchestrator URL, and you can simply go ahead and provide that detail over here. In terms of the identity URL, it should be the orchestrator URL only. So you can simply copy the orchestrator URL from, and then you can provide the orchestrator URL as well over here. Okay. Some problem. Okay, I got it. Just give me a minute. I think I have to delete the old one. Sorry about that. So I'll simply go. Yeah, so I'm just providing the details again over here. All these details are mentioned clearly into UiPath docs, so you have to just simply follow the instructions which are provided into the docs. Then you have to click save. Once you save it, you get an application which comes over here like this. Here, a couple of more changes that we need to make. The first thing is into the configuration part of it. So you have to go into the configuration. You have to click edit. You have to come down. So there is an SLO binding parameter. You have to make it as HTTP redirect. There is an assertion validity duration. If that is by default is 300, but if you want to change it as per your organization need, you can always change it. And once that is done, you have to just click on save. So that is all you need to do as part of changes in the configuration. From the attribute mapping perspective, you have to add another attribute because we will be doing the authentication based on the email address. So you have to add a new attribute over here for the email address. You can simply go over here, select the attribute that you want to map. It should be the email address. And the value that you need to supply for this should be something like this. It's again available into the docs. You can very well take this value from the docs as well. And you have to just provide it like this, and then you have to click on save. Once this is all done, the next part comes to the orchestrator. So we'll go to the orchestrator now over here. Now here, as we are in the configure SAML to settings part, we have to first mark it as enabled. There is another checkbox which says if you want to use only this as a login mechanism, you can always force login it, but it totally depends upon you how you want to keep the settings for your orchestrator. You have to give one of the names as the display name which comes onto the login screen. So I have given just PingOne over here. The service provider entity ID. Now that populates by default something like this. However, you have to make a small change over here. You have to remove the identity part of it. So it should be only the orchestrator URL. In terms of the identity provider URL, it is nothing but the issuer ID URL which you get once you have configured the PingOne. So if I go to the configuration section of the PingOne, here I get the issuer ID URL over here, as you can see. So I'll simply copy this URL from here, and I'll provide that URL into my identity provider entity ID. Just ensure you are not giving any kind of extra spaces when you are copying and pasting the URL over there. In terms of single sign-on service URL, it is again we have to take something from the PingOne system, which is initiate single sign-on URL. So you can simply copy this URL, go back to your orchestrator, and you can simply paste this URL over here. Then there is this checkbox which says allow unsolicited authentication response. So you have to check on this. Then comes the return URL. Return URL is again something which is the orchestrator URL prefixed with additional bits of it. So as you can see, this is the return URL, which is my orchestrator URL followed with identity, external identity, and then SAML to redirect callback. So you can simply prepare your URL like this, and you can provide that here as a return URL. So it's more about when you are doing the authentication, what should be the return URL back from the PingOne. Apart from that, there are a few more details that we need to provide in terms of the authentication. First one is the external user mapping. So here, as we are doing the external user mapping based on the email address, we have to select the email address over here. The SAML binding type, if you remember on the PingOne, we have done the SLO binding also as HTTP redirect. So we have to give the same over here. There are a few more, but we are selecting HTTP redirect over here. The last and the most important thing over here is providing the certificate details. Now, when you have created the app in PingOne, you do have an option to download the signing certificate. So let me just quickly download that. I will be downloading it into the CRT format. Yeah, I'll just open that. I will take it onto my desktop. So once you have downloaded this, you have to import this certificate into your certificate manager, into the trusted side as well as the personal store. So I'll just say install certificate. I'll go to the local machine. Next. Then here into my personal first. I'll just do that. It's just doing that. I'm just waiting for the pop-up to come that the import was successful. And then again, I'm just clicking the install local machine and I'll place the same into my trusted folder as well. So once that is done, right, the next step is like we have to pass the thumbprint. So you can simply take the thumbprint over here. Okay, the import was successful in both the folders now. I can simply take the thumbprint from here and I have to provide the same thumbprint into my orchestrator. So if I go back onto my SAML settings page, I will provide the new thumbprint over here. Ensure when you're copying the thumbprint, there are no spaces coming in between. So if you are getting any spaces, remove all the spaces when copying the thumbprint from the certificate. Service certificate is optional. So in terms of, if there is any kind of a service certificate which is needed for this communication, you can get those details and you can, again, have to repeat the similar kind of thing like, downloading the service certificate, then installing the service certificate into your certificate store in both personal and trusted, and then you have to provide the details like this. For this session, I've just provided the signing certificate over here and I have to click save. Once the settings are done, now we have done the settings on both PingOne as well as onto our orchestrator server. The next step comes as like resetting the IIS. So let it get reset. And what I'll do again, just to ensure we are using a clean browser. So I'm opening a new browser into incognito mode. For this exercise, what I have already done, I have added my user over here. So if you can see, my user ID already exists over here as priyesh.tiwari@uipath.com, and I've added the same user into my user section over here in PingOne as well. So here you can see as a user, you can add multiple users as well. So, and just to ensure, like as we covered in the part of prerequisite, we have to have the same email address for both the users in both the systems. Once the IIS research is complete, we'll go to the incognito browser over here and you'll see another option over here as a PingOne option. So you can simply click on that and it will redirect you to the PingOne Asia. So as you can see, it is redirecting you to the PingOne Asia site. Okay.
PS app enable is not done in PingOne.
Okay, yeah, got it. So I've missed one thing, which is very much important, and I forgot about that. So when you create the app into the PingOne system, you have to enable it. So by default, it is disabled. So as you can see, by default, it is coming as disabled. So once I enable it, it will be all good. So let me again go and try it out. So I'll close this browser and open an incognito browser again. Hit my orchestrator URL, then the PingOne. It's redirecting. It's asking for my user ID and password. So I'll be using my user ID and password over here and giving a sign on. And as you can see, I've been logged in over here. I have done the configuration at the host level. If I want to choose any of these, I can simply go ahead and choose it accordingly. So I'm just going into default now because my user ID is available at both host as well as the default organization level. And yeah, again, it's just the way you have to just configure the things, and then you can allow users to access the orchestrator by following the required authentication mechanism. The next part of this is Ping integration with cloud. So for that, what I have done, we have to create the similar kind of an application. So I have already kept it ready over here. As you can see, PingOne cloud test over here. In terms of configuration, what I've done, I have taken few of the values from the cloud from here. So especially the SX URL that we need to have. So let me just quickly open cloud as well over here just to show you how we have what URLs we need to pass from cloud over here. So in the cloud, you have to again go into admin, then security settings. So we logged into cloud. I'll go to my admin section. I'll go to my security settings and I have to select the SAML option over here. Once I click configure, I'm going to continue this and then simply click next. Now here, by default, you get few of the URLs which are coming from the cloud. So I already have the ACS URL, which is Assertion Consumer URL, which I have provided into my Ping system over here, as you can see. Yeah. And then apart from that, my entity ID is also there. So I have provided the same as when configured the application from there. I'm just not repeating it. In cloud, the only difference is like you have to pass on the metadata URL from the PingOne system. So here in the PingOne system, when you configure the app, right, you get a metadata URL as well over here, as you can see, IDP metadata URL. So you can have to simply copy this URL. You have to go over here and you have to pass on this URL. And once you do fetch data, it populates the below entries for you. So as you can see, here I can see my sign-on URL, my identity provider, identity ID, as well as the certificate. So all these details are being imported by passing that metadata URL. Once we have done this, click on next. Here, you have to give the domains which are being allowed. So at the moment, I have allowed UiPath domain, UiPath.com domain over here. But if you have multiple domains, you can give them with comma separated values. And then I say, I understand. In terms of attribute mapping, the display name, I can just give my email address as my attribute mapping display name. Other details are not mandatory, but if you want to pass it, you can always pass it. For this demo, I'm skipping that. And then here, the next thing which comes is a SAML binding. So we have to just select the SAML binding as HTTP redirect over here. And then we have an allow unsolicited authentication response. So you have to just enable that as well. And server and signing, we are using the sign in and encryption over here. And you can simply say test and save. Once you have done this, you do have an option to provision different rules, which you can explore. I'm just skipping for this demo. Now I will be opening my cloud into an incognito mode as well, just to show you how exactly it reflects. There is no need for any kind of an IS reset and all that here in cloud because it's all cloud-based thing. And we do have an option to use continue with SSO. I'll just say continue with SSO. Here I have to pass out my organization name in cloud. So my organization name here in cloud should be the one here. Simply pass my organization name. I'll click on continue. As you can see, it has redirected me, but it has taken my cache, I think. And that is the reason it has allowed me to log in. But here, if you can see, I've been logged in as priyesh.tiwari@uipath.com. However, we should get the same login screen. Let me see if I can just give a cache refresh over here and show you that as well. organization details. So here the browser, you can see like it redirects over there into the PingOne URL. Yeah, as you can see over here, it has been redirected over there. It is asking me for my username and password. I'll just provide my same user ID and password, which for the user that I've added in PingOne system. Do a sign in, and then it goes for the authentication. It's authenticates through PingOne, like the user access with the same user ID, and then it allows me to log into the system. Uh, with that, I'm handing over the controls to Rahul to cover the Azure Active Directory part.
Thank you, Priyesh, for this wonderful session. So if you have any doubts, guys, you can please post your queries on Slido. We will be giving the answer on that as well. So let me share my screen. Okay, so for let seems like some. Yeah, so the next topic we have is the Azure AD integration with our on-prem orchestrator, and the same thing which we will be following with the cloud orchestrator as well. So Azure, so we have two topics left, which is with the on-prem and with the cloud AD integration, Azure AD integration. So here again, we have two prerequisites in like the Azure, your orchestrator servers should be accessible from the Azure AD. So Azure AD should be accessible from your orchestrator server. And the second one is that we need the admin permission. So admin permission in both orchestrator as well as the Azure AD. Basically, in Azure AD, this admin permission is required for your the provide some admin consent. So if you don't have admin permission in Azure AD, that is also fine. But we need somebody who can provide us the consent as a administrator. And the steps are as follows. Like there are basically two things here. Here also we are doing like we have done in the PingOne. First step is we have to do app registration. So app registration.
Rahul, sorry to interrupt you. You're not sharing your screen.
My screen is not shared. Is it sharing now? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry. So like I said, we have two things in Azure AD. So first step is we have to do the app registration. So app registration we have to do on the Azure AD side. And another thing is we have to do some kind of configuration changes on the orchestrator side. Like we have to enable we have to provide some value which we will be getting it from the Azure AD app registration. So the similar fashion, we will be also doing the same thing in the cloud orchestrator as well. So here only prerequisites are like we need you to be organization administrator. We need the enterprise version of Azure, our automation cloud, either in the trial or maybe enterprise version. It won't work with the community version. And the second thing is we need the email ID of your organization administrator and the email ID of your Azure AD administrator. The email ID should be same. So that is, I will tell you why this email ID is required to be same. So that when we see in action, then we will explain you that as well. And the steps are again, it is pretty much similar. Like here again, two parts. First part is we need to do the app registration on Azure AD side. The second is we have to do some changes on the orchestrator cloud orchestrator side. So we will see both the things in action. Let me go to my window. So first, what we will do is we will go to our Azure AD. So in Azure AD, you guys can see my screen, right? I am sharing my Azure portal. Somebody can confirm me?
Yes, we can able to.
Yes, yes, Rahul.
So in Azure portal, once you logged in into Azure portal, you can search for Azure AD, or as I already have searched, so this is coming in my recent thing. So this is my Azure Active Directory. You have to go under that, and what you have to do is you have to go on. In this, you will be seeing under the manage section something called app registration. So you have to go under this app registration section, and then you have to do the new app registration. So you have to just click on new registration. You can give a name. And here, after giving a name, there's something like account type. So basically, so based on upon your organization need, you can select any of this. So for us, it is like only limited to UiPath tenant. We are not exposing to different tenants. So if you have like if you have multiple tenants, multi-tenant, you can go with that as well. So for me, I'm just selecting this one and click on register. So this is my first part of the app registration. The next is we have to do once the app registration is done, you have to just go under your app. So you can also you can directly go via the same way to the same registered app. So this is my app which I just now I have registered. You can open that one. Under that, there's again in the manage section, you will see something called authentication. So this authentication, basically, we have to provide some of the redirect URL. So we'll show you how to add the redirect URLs here. 1 second. So you have to click on this add platform. Then you have to check this the first option called web based on. Here you will see this options is coming like we have to provide the redirect URLs. So this redirect URL is nothing but the URL of your orchestrator, along with some like some other as like it is identities / sign in hyphen OIDC. So this is the URL which we have to provide. So and I will be using the same this app for my both cloud as well as the on-prem one. I will be adding few more redirect URLs that I will show you how to do that as well. So if you see, once I added this is coming like this. So as I'm going to use the same this app for my cloud orchestrator as well, I will be using few more redirect URLs to be will be added here. So I'll just add another add platform. You can go to web, and then you can just give this value. So this is my cloud orchestrator URL / identity, and then the sign in ODC. So this is for my cloud orchestrator redirect URL. And another one more I will be adding, that is for testing the connection. So that is basically required for test connection for the cloud orchestrator. That also I will be adding now itself. So I'll just go, either you can add it using add URI, or maybe you have to click on add web, or you can just click on web and then you can put this value. So this is for the testing of the connection. Basically, we'll show you what that testing is when we move to orchestrator side. So this is all on the redirect URL side, and then there's another thing is which is ID token. So this option has to be checked. So once you check this one, you have to do save. I'll just click on save. So this is on the authentication things we have done. The next is we have to do the token configuration. You have to go to the token configuration section. You have to select this option called add optional claim. And here you have to select the first option called ID. So once you have selected this ID, you have to select few things like family name. You can see here the family name. Then we have something called given name. And there's something called UPN. You'll see at the down somewhere, UPN. This 3 value has to be checked and click on add. So once you have done this one, this will be added like this. So then this next, once you have done these things, we have to go for the API permission. So we have to provide some API permissions which will be used by our orchestrator. So you have to go to the API permission on the same manage section. You have to click on add permissions. And once you click on add permission, in the top, you'll see Microsoft Graph API. So you have to select that one. And then you have to go for the delegated permissions option. The first option you have to select. Then you have to search for few of the things as I'm showing you my screen. So basically you have to search for this email ID, open ID, profile. Then you have to search for group read all, and then you have to search for user read and user basic read all. So these 7 things you have to search. So let me select one by one from here. So first I will select email. You can type email here. You'll see the email will be coming up like this. You just have to select add permission. Then next is our open ID. I just go again, click on add Microsoft delegate permission and click on open ID. I will select that. The next is we have profile. So this all values what I'm doing here, it is well documented in UiPath document section. You can find these values from there as well. So I'm just one by one, I'm just selecting everything. So this is like just group member read all I need to do. This option I've selected, then user read. And user basic read all. So these are the options which we have to select, and then you have to click on add permissions. So you'll see this all things will be added. I just missed out one. I just add one more. So this is once you have done. So basically for this step only we require admin consent. So as I don't have administrator permission here, so I will show you like we have to raise some kind of internal request with our admin team to provide us the consent on this. Why we require consent? Because this app is going to use some user based data. Like if you see here, user email ID, user group ID, user profile ID. So there's some user info which app is going to get it from there. So that's why we required admin consent on that. Otherwise, this will not work. And then this is the one. And then after that, we have to do go to the certificate and secret section. You have to generate a secret. So that basically this secret will be used to this will be used in your app registration. Like when we do this settings in the orchestra side, these values will be required. So this is I just give some name here, random name. And you can give the expiry date of the secret, 3 months, 48, for like you can also do customize, and you can click on add. So once you click on add, you have to copy this value part of your secret. So this is basically required when we I just copied this one and keep for in some place. I need these values when we do uh, the next part of the orchestrator side. Along with we need few more details, so which you can find out from your overview section. So when you go to overview section, you will see something called application client ID. This is basically client ID which will be required when we do the settings in the orchestrator, as well as your tenant ID. So these two, along with this two and the secret, these 3 values we required it when we do the orchestrator site settings. Let me show you another my already created app which have the admin consent. So if I go to my API permission, you will see this all has green. The status of this is granted for UiPath. So like that, this all consent has been given for my for this app. So once you have the consent, then only you can use your this Active Directory. So I already have my copied my application ID, directory, and a token. So now next step is we have to go to the orchestrator and do the settings. So let me first go to this on-prem version of the orchestrator. I'll just go to host login. So again, here there are few things keep in mind. So this Azure Ready integration, if you're doing at the host level, so in host level, it won't be a directory integration. It's just a kind of a SSO integration where you just have login will be verified from your Azure Ready. If you want to with directory integration, you have to do at the tenant level and the orchestrator. So that's why I am going to do the same thing on the tenant level. So admin, I just provide my password, log into it. Then I will again go to the management section of that. Then in the management section, I will go to the security setting. Here you will find out these two options, Azure Active Directory and SAML2. I have to click on Azure Active Directory. Here you will see we have to provide three options, three parameters. One is the your tenant ID. Next is your application ID, and third is your application secret. Tenant ID is nothing but your directory ID which you have which you copied from your overview section. Okay, and the next is your client application ID, which is nothing but your client ID. So let me just go to overview section. I'll just one to one I will show you. So this application ID is the client ID, you can say application ID, which will go under application ID section. So you can directly copy it from here and you can give it there. I just go and copy and paste. Then I will have to provide the app secret. This app secret is nothing but when you which you have generated in the token certificate and token section. So I just provide that and click on I understand and then click on save. So once you have done this one, you'll see successfully logged in, successfully saved the settings, and it is when you go to accounts and group, you'll see it is coming as Azure connected in the top. You'll see this one. So let me just log out and try to log in in incognito mode and see how it works. So let me open a private window. Okay, so one more thing is, see, we have done some changes, but here again, it is recommended to do the IS reset. But somehow for AD integration, Azure AD integration, it without doing the IS reset also it is working. But we recommend to do the IS reset. So for that, either you can open your IS Internet Manager IS, or you can do a reset from there, or maybe you can just go to command CMD and you can do the reset from there. So let me do the same thing. Yeah. So I just load the screen one more time and then I will. As we have done the IS resets, it will take a few seconds to load the screen application again. So it is now loading it. So as you can see, it is on default, and when you click on username, you'll see there's something, a new option coming up in the down. Continue with enterprise SSO. I can just click on that. So it will ask my username password of my Azure AD. So my Azure has that multi-factor authentication. I need to provide approval from my authenticator app. So once I have provided the authentication, it will redirect to my orchestrator. So this concludes my on-prem orchestrator settings. Now let's jump to the next, the cloud version of the orchestra, UiPath Cloud Orchestrator. So here again, I just first need to log in with the administrator account in your orchestrator. I just logged in first. And then I will select my tenant, which for which I need my organization, which I want to do the settings. I have multiple tenant organization access. I'm just using this organization unit to for this demo. So it's loading now. So after that, I will be going to the administrator section, then again security settings sections. Here again, you will see and the last option called user can sign in with Azure Active Directory AADSSO. Just select that one. Then once you select this, again it will ask three parameter, which is tenant ID, application ID, and the app secret, which is nothing but the which you have copied on the from the overview page. So this first is your application ID. I'll just paste this application ID here. Then we have the directory or tenant ID. And the third one is my secret. And I'll just click on this, and then there's something option called test connection. So basically this test connection, you will remember we have added a additional URL in the authentication, redirect URL, which is test connection. So this URL, redirect URL, will be used when we do this test connection. So it will open your and it will validate your settings basically. So this connection is tested, and then you can save this one. So once you have saved this, now my integration is successfully completed. If you go here again, you will see these things are saved. Now let me log out and open in the private window. So I'm just directly jumping to my this organization tenant. So once I move this here, it will show me the option of AD authentication. So directly it is because we have chosen that option, directly it is taking me with the Azure AD authentication screen. You have to provide Azure credential. Now we have successfully launched to the screen. So now once you have once you launch your orchestrator, you can add your group users to it. So now if you just go to manage access section, you can search for your directory groups. Like I just want to add my group, some groups from the Azure directory. You can search. Now all these groups are available in your orchestrator also, like which all are available in your tenant in your Active Directory. So these groups are now you can provide access to based on your need. So like that, you can do the same thing. Also, I think I missed to showcase on. So let me just show you the same thing on. See, so my Azure groups are now visible on is available on my orchestrator as well. So now this concludes. We are successfully integrated with Azure AD with my on-prem as well as my cloud. So if you have any doubts, any questions, you can ask on Slido, or maybe we can open this forum for Q&A, because we have 3-4 minutes left.
Feel free to unmute and ask question. I think we can do that now.
Rahul, Jitin here. I think we don't have this option in our cloud trials now, right?
No, cloud trials. That's why this prerequisite we told you, like we need the enterprise or enterprise trial license at least for this kind of integrations.
How do we supposed to get the enterprise trial?
In cloud community also there's option in the somewhere in admin section where you can request for enterprise trial, which you will get for 60 days, I guess, trial license.
Yeah, that is the cloud trial only, right? The trial
Yes.
account.
Yes.
I think it's disabled now, right? The SS options. They
No,
are
might
not
be you have
giving-
already so it is only one time basically, like if you
Okay.
have if you have already taken it for sometimes back, so it won't be you cannot do it for multiple times. So if you in that case you need to create a new account and then you can try it.
I think even the new trial accounts also, this is disabled. There may be something is wrong from my side, I guess.
I need to
Okay.
check that. Yeah. Any other questions from anyone?
So Rohit, I got one thing over here on the chat window. Can we get the recording of this session? I hope you'll be sharing that, right?
Yes, we'll be uploading this today night itself. So you can just go back to the same event page maybe tomorrow morning and you'll find the recording.
Hi, this is CK. So I need one clarification on the app registration. So, I mean, is there any specific permission that need to be enabled for getting it done? Because it's we can't go and ask customer to enable all the permission, right? So,
No. So
is there any specific? Yeah.
yeah, we have explained that API permission. So there are list of 7
No, not
API.
from API end. I was asking from the Azure I mean, app registrations and kind of roles, right?
Yes, this is app registration side only. We have explaining. So in the Graph API, the Graph API is from Microsoft AD. So we required this 6 API permissions: email, OpenID, profile, group member, read all, user read, and user read basic. So these things you need the access. I just pasted the same thing on the chat.
Right.
So CK, if I'm getting you correctly, you're looking for what kind of a role you need on Azure, right? To have these
Yeah,
permissions to
because
create the app
see,
registrations and
some of
all.
the clients may be working on an finance sector, and it's not that easy to get an access for all. So we need to be very specific on enabling it, and need to be make sure that we have a right permission to run the show, right?
Yeah. No, so in that case, like I would suggest to have only single person as an admin person who can have an access to create all those things. You should not give this access to everyone in the team, right? That is not needed ideally because this is a
Yeah,
one-time activity
I
that.
agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. But what I was specifically saying is like, say for example, I'm handling a UiPath. I'm a UiPath admin,
Yep.
and if I send a request for an for approval to get all this access to an admin, right? So we may get a number of questions to say like, what is this access for, and why can't we go ahead and give only write permission or read permission or specific permissions, right? So that's what I'm trying to ask. I mean, though we can get the complete app registration account created, but we
Mhm.
need to be very specific to ask these questions to the customer or getting the pre-request done, right?
Yeah. No, so from Azure integration point of view, right? Azure Active Directory integration point of view, right? The app registration is something which we definitely need. So, that is needed. We cannot, leave that thing without an app. We cannot, communicate at all because that is, that is acting as a bridge between the UiPath orchestrator as well as the Active Directory on Azure, right? The second thing is
Because
like,
without app registration, I mean, automation will not work. But
yes.
in the app registration also, we can limit the access, or I mean, we can also specify like what kind of permission that we need to have it triggered or
Yes.
executed. So that's what I was trying to ask.
Yeah, no, that's correct. And that's where, Rahul has pasted onto the chat window also. Like, so there are some delegated permissions that we need to read the users, to read the groups, to read the profiles of the users, right? Which we are populating in Orchestrator. There are so many dedicated permissions you will find over there in, under an app. but we are giving explicitly only these 7 permissions that we need.
Okay.
Apart from that, we are also using this secret, right? We are specifically creating a secret app secret. So that secret will be used we will passed in the your orchestrator. So that secret will be used basically. So apart from this 6 API access, we require this secret. So this 7 thing basically, yeah.
Thanks for that.
Any other questions from anyone? I think we are already 3 minutes on top of the time, but if any last questions that we can answer. Okay, I think that is no. Yeah, Rohit, back to you.